Yo, what's up, guys? My name is Oliver Hayes alongside Harrison Simeon, and we are back for episode 21 of the Scopo SportsCast. I know it's been a while. Had some technical difficulties. School's obviously ended. Sports season's wrapped up. But NBA draft finished up. Off-season workouts for the upcoming seasons are fully underway. And yeah, we're kind of, ready to turn a new page. But before we want to do that, we want to look back at this past year and appreciate what we did. So let's get into it.
Yeah, it's been over 2 months since we recorded our last episode, and a lot has happened since then. I mean, there were some departures from the women's basketball team, the men's team. Both teams are going to be completely made over for next year, but so much to look back on, so many memories, especially from within the club, just going on different trips and you and I both going to Vegas for Pac-12 tournaments, the final year of the Pac-12. There's a lot to be reflected on, and next year is a new era. But I think, just looking back, starting when you and I recorded the first podcast episode, and we played TCU, and you know, national runner-ups the year before, stunned them, and the hype just exploded from there. And for the next 3 weeks, it felt like we were on the top of arguably the sports world at the time, just for like a little 2, 3 week period. All everyone could talk about was Coach Prime and the football team. And then that's what, the team's holding on to kind of going into next season, as things went downhill from there. But, you know, calling the CSU game for, partnering with Radio 1190, doing that little thing was such an incredible experience. I mean, the comeback win, the game winning interception by Trevor Woods, and the Jimmy Horn touchdown. You know, going on the field. I personally worked with Fox Sports for a day and was a pair microphone operator for the Nebraska game. So just like everything in those first 3 weeks of the football season seemed to have some sort of memory attached to it. And, even though it went downhill from there, we still were able to, get trips to Utah, Arizona, definitely some more on the way next year. But just the football season in general was chock full of so many memories, from Mata's game-winning field goal to, the Utah game where everyone got so upset at the referees about Travis Hunter getting robbed, and like different things where it was frustrating at the end, but the beginning, I don't think will ever be forgotten in, for the next foreseeable future, like decades from now. People will still talk about, oh, remember that crazy CSU game where it went till 2 in the morning on the East Coast. So yeah, I mean, just the football season in general was my biggest memory from this past year, especially first semester.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, the football season was just so insane. As far as the club, I mean, we just seeing the amount of growth due to the football team and the amount of attention that they got in the offseason, which was, all warranted. I mean, it's not often that, you know, one of the best NFL cornerbacks of all time, you know, and a NFL anomaly being a two-way player, like, comes to be your head coach after, you've been so bad for 2 decades now. I mean, just that excitement leading up, what we did and or to, those first few weeks, and then what we did as a club, with those new members and you know, starting our own website, you know, you like content, we still have so much more room to improve, but like we had this podcast throughout the whole year. And then of course, Aiden and Alex and Jared started their hockey podcast and that was cool. And so the fact that we had two podcasts that ran pretty much through the whole duration of the year is just mind blowing to me after, what we had when we were just freshmen a year ago. So I mean, seeing all the growth that we had that came along with football and members joining the club and just and then, the it's hard to say we were like veterans last year, but I mean, we were, one of the few returning
Right.
people from our freshman year. So I mean, yeah, it was really cool seeing what the club could do given the spotlight and the opportunity to, have more people a part of the club. And then, just individually, I mean, it was like last year as a freshman, I remember being so nervous, so scared about what I was, you know, like going to games and writing about games and things like that. So I I went to one football game as like a cameraman, and I remember, it was we lost to Arizona State. It was like Halloween weekend. We were losing so bad that, the student section that had five fans in it were, throwing their Truly cans at me and
That game was hilarious.
no,
I'll throw it in real quick, but I went to that game with my grandparents, and I still left early.
yeah,
Like we kind of came back and kind of made it close at the end. I remember that game, but like it was such a different atmosphere compared to now. I mean, even when we are losing, I mean, we only won three more games than the year before, but just I guess, despair that the football team had going along with it compared to now is so much. It makes a world's difference.
yeah, no, definitely. And I mean, yeah, it was just insane. Like having that be my first experience, like being at a game. And then as far as like, I don't know, I know I'm heading into basketball now, but I mean, as a freshman, I think I was credentialed for four basketball games, maybe once as a cameraman, a few times as a writer. And one article I wrote was just because I was like at the game and like I don't know, Troy, who was our sports editor at the time, like now at CU Sports Nation. He reached out to me, was like, "Yo, you were at the game, right?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he was just like, "Yo, can you write a recap?" And I was like, Sure, okay." So I wrote my first recap sitting with my back against the wall in the corner underneath one of the scoreboards and in the CU Event Center. And so it's just crazy seeing that, like having that be my experience, like having these be my experiences of last year, of yeah, I guess 2 years ago now. It's not really last year anymore. But yeah, my experience as a freshman. And I'm assuming you feel away with your experience as a freshman, and then just all of a sudden, yeah, like for you, like you said, for Nebraska, you were on the field. I'm in the press box. I'm like, oh my God, like I'm in a press box. I think if I'm not mistaken, I was sitting next to a. Oh my God, I forget why I can't remember. Oh my God, I can't remember his name. Feels bad, but he went to CSU, played in MLB, was a pitcher. Uh, I forget his name. I really apologize. But I remember I was sitting next to him and I was like, that's insane. Because he covers CU sports and I mean, each week the press box kept getting more packed and more packed and more packed. Like there were over 800 members in those, at the Nebraska CSU USC game. Like, and you're sitting shoulder to shoulder. You're with guys who have worked at ESPN and Sports Illustrated and, all these, talented, coveted reporters. And then after the game, that CSU game specifically being so crazy, like you said, running into the early morning, and then all of a sudden you're packed into a room after this crazy thrilling win, listening to Deion Sanders and Shador Sanders, talk about how crazy that game was, and it's like it's just something that you couldn't even imagine. Being a freshman, and going through the experience that I went through, and then, just all of a sudden, at every home game, writing about every game, for football and basketball, like, I don't know. And then, like the Pac-12 tournament, like you said, is just, yeah, just so wild. And then, I want to give you the platform a little bit to talk about, your experience covering the women's basketball team. So I kind of want to, head into that because I mean, football was great and all, but I feel like you and I really kind of, found our footing a little bit and, really progressed like as individuals and as beat writers, as reporters, that cover, specific topics, with the basketball season for the women's and the men's sides.
Yeah, I mean, I guess before we get into that, I'll throw in real quick. I mean, let's say Laura it loses. But this past year, it kind of felt like people were talking about, oh, there's so many bandwagon Colorado fans. Oh, they're only Coach Prime fans. But I think there's a difference between that and the fact that it was a completely dormant fan base that kind of saw their school and their team that they've kind of rooted for on the side, kind of casually, never in the spotlight, kind of feel cool again to be a Colorado fan and to kind of be rejuvenated by Coach Prime and the team and it kind of fed into the different other sports and how much attention they were getting, even if they were, successful in their own right. But just hearing the school Colorado, you hear it in so much more in like popular like dialect talking about college sports so much more than I ever used to. Like, I didn't come to this school. Like, I know you're in Boulder right now. You're from Colorado. I'm from Louisiana. I have no connection to that state. And I had never really heard of, I heard in every now and then I'd see a game on TV of Colorado football or basketball. And I'd be like, oh, okay, that's cool. Black and gold, like the Saints. I'm a Saints fan, like whatever. Cool. But I didn't come to the school for the sports teams. And I never could have imagined the experience I would have had in just my second year in the school, going on the field at a game, um, taking 2 trips to 2 different football games, one of which ended in a game-winning field goal by this tiny little kicker who's dancing around with one of the greatest football players of all time on the sideline. Like, it was pretty surreal just all around. But something I never also wouldn't have really expected is the fact that I got to cover a basketball team's entire season step by step, and not just any basketball team, but a team that was number 3 in the country at one point, only lost to arguably the greatest women's basketball player of our generation, at least at the college level.
For
Um,
now, for now,
for
I
now.
want to say that Juju
Or you're saying
Watkins,
you're thinking Juju on the
yeah,
way?
yeah.
Okay.
I'm
But I
riding
got to
that
see
train
her
more.
too. So it's like
Yeah.
like I get to see so many different players that are kind of on the rise. And like a lot of other sports at CU, our women's basketball team was such an on the rise core. And with Jalen Sherrod, Clay Miller, Aaron Von Lay, I fell in love with that team. Just the culture that they had, and the likability and the family kind of atmosphere that carried them through every step of the way. Whether it was, playing amazing and being at the top of the country and national rankings, beating LSU, that Sweet 16 run 2 years ago, I guess I'll throw it in as part of the kind of building success that J.R. Payne has had on the program, or if it was the losing streak in mid-February through March that kind of took the air out of that season. And while we still made a run in the tournament to the Sweet 16 the second weekend, had the really cool win against Kansas State, which 2 of our Skull Bus members made the snowy, insanely kind of dangerous trip out to Manhattan, Kansas for. Shout out to Patrick and Roberto. Um, but getting through that, losing to Iowa, not too competitive of a game, kind of falling short in the Pac-12 tournament, at least compared to the expectations. Even though that was the case, and now we see the team kind of making an exodus out and a completely new core besides like Frida Foreman and Kendall Wetta sticking around. The rest of the team kind of departing, whether it's graduation or the portal, and then new players coming in, not as big of expectations. Despite all of that, the fact that I can just rattle it off the top of my head about one team is kind of insane at the same time, and it's kind of taught me so much about how to be a journalist, how to be an expert on something, but also while I'm doing my work and not just, talking about like, oh my gosh, I love this team, how to be objective and how I write about them. Um and you with the men's team doing such a great job there as well. I don't want to not mention you at all in that, but just with the women's team, incredible experience that I never would have thought of. Now with everyone talking about, oh my gosh, I'm getting into women's sports. Everyone's talking about women's sports. I feel like I was a little bit ahead of the game, I guess, at least by a few months. And just having to cover a team like that, having to learn about different players. Um, and yeah, I mean, I think it's such an on the rise thing that I'm glad to be part of the wave of. And hopefully I can continue that these next couple of years and into the future. So you can talk about your men's team now, well, your experience covering that. But stuff like going to Vegas for the Pac-12 tournament was so surreal, and like it made me realize, despite how much it stressed me out sometimes, it made me realize how fun being a journalist can be, even if it's just talking about the same thing over and over.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, yeah, being able to cover a team, as in depth as we were both able to cover as I was able to cover the men's team and as you were able to cover the women's team is always, something that's you can see is just so special. And you want to finally like understand that once you're able to be in that because like, I don't know, at least for me, just seeing, the journalists that, I followed growing up, and seeing, I'm a Celtics fan. That's why I got on all this green. Seeing how excited and how happy they were that the Celtics finally won the finals this year. It's like, yeah, you need to be objective. You need to call it. You need to call it evenly. You need to call it both ways. Of course, not every article. That's not, there's analysis articles, there's play breakdowns, there's columns, there's features, there's opinion pieces, there's, all those things. But for a lot of a lot of this work needs to be objective. But you do get connected to these teams. You do get connected to these players, and even though that's, they'll tell you, in every journalism class that, you can't get connected. You can't be connected at all. You can't, um, you know, uh, I can't think of the word. So I guess they, it speaks to, how much I pay attention to the journalism classes. But anyway, the aspect that sports journalism has that other journalism, the other parts of journalism, like if you were covering, you know, art or news or politics or whatever it is, like, yeah, a lot of times you can't have a connection to whoever you're covering. Um, because because you can't be biased. That's not, the nature of journalism. But in sports, like there's only gonna be, one starting point guard for, you know, each team. There's only gonna be and there's, only a certain amount of spots and you have to talk to these guys day in and day out. And there's just absolutely and these girls as well, but there's no way that you can, be around a team for that long talking with these guys, especially when they're your age. And and not, yeah, build some type of connection. I mean, there's a reason why journalists become, friendly with these athletes, and it's because, you know, we're doing different jobs, but we're at a lot of the same events. We're talking to each other all the time. I don't know. It's just a crazy experience, especially when you have the culture, that on the women's side that J.R. Payne built with the players that she had, and then seeing what Tad Boy was able to do with the men's side of things. Like it was just, I don't know. It was really cool seeing that team dynamic and seeing how well they connected together. And, like I shot like a package on KJ and his jumping ability. Um, and the whole time, like when I'm trying to get B-roll, Cody and Tristan are out there just, chilling, talking with me, talking with each other, doing the most casual 360 windmill dunk I've ever seen in my whole like entire life. And I'm just like, wow, I'm really just chopping it up with, you know, three NBA draft selections, two of which in the first round, one a lottery pick. That's just beyond crazy to me. And I don't know. I remember like my second practice or something like that. I was talking with RJ Smith, and and he hadn't seen me before. Because he was a redshirt when I was a freshman, and like I said earlier, I covering any games, and he's like, "I haven't seen you. Like you can be around the whole year." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna be around the whole year. I'm gonna cover the team. Hopefully, the next couple of years. I'm a student here." And he's like, "Oh, you're a student," and so you could tell that that wasn't something that he really had his freshman year, was having a student journalist, coming and talking to him. And so just in that aspect, like, I don't know, he dapped me up. He's like, "Oh yeah, I'm a sophomore too." I mean, he's our age, like I said. And so, I mean, just having that connection, I know it's a very long-winded way of me saying, that you're connecting these players, but it's really like, it's why I got into journalism. It's why I enjoy telling the stories. I enjoy seeing who these guys are. And it's why, things like NBA draft night, are so important to reporters and journalists because you see so many cool stories with these guys that you followed. Like seeing KJ, like so emotional, like up on the stage, like with his parents talking about what his dad did for him and how he was able to show it at Colorado and all that type of stuff. Like it's just insane. Um, but but yeah, no, I mean, going further, like I don't know, I feel bad because I'm just talking so much. I mean, this is just like you can. I
It's
hope
okay. Me too.
all these viewers can see like, not that we have that many, but I hope that all the viewers that are people listening can hear and see how excited we both are. Talking about these teams. And that like the passion is there for sure. Uh, but to kind of go to a point that you brought up a little earlier about like you being from Louisiana, for me, like even though I was from Colorado, like my parents, like I don't know, my parents both grew up in the Northeast. They went to schools in the Northeast. I never had a connection to Colorado until my brother went here. Um, And, at that point, the team, like, I don't know, football team, has been, wasn't good at all. And I mean, they had been for a while, and they're, record wise, they're still not good. At least, hopefully not yet. um, but,
It should be a powerhouse by now.
yeah, I mean, at least according to the new college football game.
Yep.
But but yeah, I know like I didn't care about the football team. I cared about basketball slightly because uh they had a few guys from the Springs where I grew up. So like I don't know. I'd happen to play against Nick Clifford when I was in high school. So I mean, seeing him go and play, I mean, yeah, that's neat to me. I saw my brother play against Deshaun Schwartz in high school. Seeing him go and, play at CU, I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah, I'll turn on the CU game a few more times than I did before. Just because, Deshaun was, the best high school player I'd seen in my life until I had gotten to high school. And so I didn't really have, no type of connection. Like when I wanted to stay in state, so I didn't want, I definitely didn't want to go to no Colorado State. Nah, I'm not rocking with that. So I only applied to Denver, to DU and in Colorado, and so I mean I was like, all right, I'm gonna cover like a mid-major basketball team, which would have been neat. They had one of the highest scoring players in the year last year or in college basketball last year. But then I was like, am I gonna have to cover hockey? Like I don't know nothing about hockey. I'm not. I'm
It's like that's their thing.
Yeah. So I was like, am I gonna do that? Well, no. I guess I'm gonna go to Colorado. Hopefully, like they got football and basketball team. They at least got that. Hopefully hopefully basketball will like do all right and I don't know. I just didn't have the expectations whatsoever. And so, I mean, to see all these things happen, to have all these great opportunities. We already talked about the football side of things, but like, I mean, for basketball, the fact that we had Cody Williams um on the team was just absolutely insane. I know he didn't have the year that he wanted to due to the injury, and I don't think the team ever reached the heights that they could have reached due to the injuries that they suffered, as a entire like unit. But I mean, yeah, seeing Cody and what he was able to do, and then having Tristan and KJ also not test their luck in the NBA draft a year ago when they could have, and then on top of that, not transferring elsewhere where they could have gotten, a ton more NIL money. And them purposely staying, Boyle making some great pickups in the transfer portal as well. Like, I mean, it was just insanely lucky how everything came together. And I mean, even on the women's side of things, like I don't know. I mean, I guess this is the benefit of me being in Colorado, but over winter break, like when you went back to see your family, that was when Utah and Stanford came to Colorado to play the women's team. So I got to see Alicia Peely and um Cameron Brink balling out, and I know
The
I
best games of the whole year. That
yeah
was Sherrod's career high, and like 30 when she started 34, and then beating Stanford in itself at any point in like the
yeah
history of college basketball is a monumental occasion. So
yeah like it's
you got
just
lucky.
insane. Like just name it because like I just named those two players and like I mean those rosters, both those rosters are fantastic. Like Stanford, as you said, is a fantastic program, and I mean yeah I didn't even think about the Jalen game because I mean Jalen scored 34 and the next day KJ scored 34 and everyone's like, oh my God, I can't believe that happened. And I'm like, you know, there were journalists that were at both games for sure, but a lot of times, both a lot of organizations, like we do it, have a women's beat writer and a men's beat writer, and so I was like one of the only ones who was there for both games, who was able to cover both games, like be at the post game interviews, asking questions, and I was like, I don't know, I remember I was feeling myself for some reason at the press conference after the KJ game. So I asked like the first question or the second question, like in the press conference, and it was just like, KJ, like, do you think that Colorado has the best set of point guards, men's and women's, like in the country? He's like, yeah, without a doubt. And that's like the quote that was in everybody's story. And I was like I just like the fact like that I don't know. I know it seems like somewhat unprofessional for, how long I've been jargoning on about how much I care and how cool it is and how starstruck I am, but it generally like genuinely like it is how I feel like about being proud of, asking certain questions and being around the team and just doing what we've done and I appreciate you like recognizing me, like what I've done on the men's side, and then yeah, seeing like what you've done and the stuff that like I brought up earlier with like the club in general, like seeing what our EPs have done. Milena like taking on her new job, seeing what Jared has been able to do. Like, I don't know. That's just absolutely insane. I mean, you have, returning members. Next year, like we got Roberto, who's on the older side, but we got freshmen like Patrick and Tallis who are, gonna be sophomores. We got Nick who's running graphics. Uh, you know, Trent stepped up, who's gonna be a senior next year. Like, uh, you know, Alex Roberts balling on play by play. Like, there's just so many people that you can just go on and on about that developed so much over the year, and are in such a better place now, at least career wise. And it's just, I don't know, just so phenomenal. And I hope that, yeah, this this long winded way of being appreciative of this whole thing is worth listening to and evident of how I feel about myself, my job, my career, but most importantly this club and scope of sports.
Yeah, I kind of think it's like I don't want to like sell scope of sports to someone, but I think a huge selling point of it that I never really thought of it coming in, but you can have a highly coveted job for a lot of people. Like people when they grow up, they want to be a sports broadcaster, they want to be a sports writer, but you can essentially have that for fun and for like completely free, and you don't have to, do much except write about some soccer games or like, if you like, working your way up and then you're here now after only, a year or two, you can have a job that so many people would want to do to beat right for a college basketball team to, broadcast, baseball games, whether club or not, you can have jobs here and there that can help you in your future careers, both simultaneously make your experience at college that much more fun and give you, and because of how Colorado sports turned out this past year, create so many memories that involve wins or that involve success or, different things like that. Um, but no, I completely agree. And I mean, with all, with all your sentiments. Um, and I think it's important to remember, like, this wasn't always the case for this kind of club. I mean, we had so much growth and so much more enthusiasm that was put into it. And, stuff like the website, like you mentioned, stuff like the trips that I talked about earlier, that wouldn't have existed if there wasn't enthusiasm with the school and with the teams. And I think this year being so special and why I think it's going to only go up from this point on, even though there's going to be a lot of so much change, and moving to the Big 12, the Pac-12 as we know it is dead. And, I want to plug two things for you. I know your Cody Williams article, I didn't appreciate how little love it got compared to some other articles. So I want to shout yours out first. Um, and then you writing about the demise of the Pac-12 for that UCLA writers thing.
Oh yeah.
Um, I saw that. That was pretty cool. And so I think, in looking back on the Pac-12, looking forward to the Big 12, there are a lot of memories that people are going to have of the Pac-12, but that just creates the opportunity to make, to play different teams, to get to know different players next year in all these different sports. With football, there's going to be, I know that someone wants to make a trip to Orlando for a football game. I don't know how that would happen, but Patrick mentioned it. We're gonna play a game in Arrowhead Stadium against Kansas. So I think there's so many different things that can now happen because of the move to the Big 12 that, not that the Pac-12 ending was bad or anything, but I'm saying that, all these new opportunities that are coming up are going to only create more unique memories because of where they're at or who are playing, or new rivalries can form, um, more connections can be made. And I think such a big part of being a journalist, like you mentioned earlier, is making relationships and covering the teams. You talked about getting to know RJ Smith and some of the players, Cody Williams. That's just making a connection. And, you know, it got you an opportunity already with the Buffs Wire. And I'm hoping it gets me something with the Daily Camera this upcoming year. So I think with this year and the move to the Big 12, I guess we could talk about that for a little bit if you had something to add on it. It's it has a lot of good in it, some bad for sure. Men's basketball is going to have a rough go of things, but for football, I think the schedule lightens up a bit. We'll see how they end up with all the new players. If we wanted to touch on that, I don't know. There were a decent amount of changes since in the last 2 months, but I really think it's going to be an overall good. Like it's going to be a completely different experience. We'll be going to different places, different people, different players, different teams. But I think it'll be an overall really, really fun and exciting outlook for the school that's already up and coming in so many different areas.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, uh, I want to go. I appreciate you. First, I appreciate you for plugging my article, my Cody article. That's
I
something that had
had
been
to.
in. That's
It's
something
got
that
like
had been in.
25 views. That's doing you dirty.
I know. I'm like, yeah, I don't know, but I mean, it's part of it's a growing process. I mean,
It's part of writing.
so yeah, I mean, the website's getting better. We're gonna get more writing. I mean, like I don't know. I appreciate being able to write for the Buffs Wire, but I felt bad that a lot of like I don't know our articles last year were recaps, even though we had so many, and that was a lot better of like a progression, or that was such an improvement from the year before. Um, you know, yeah, I want to do more than just write recaps, and so I don't know. I was really proud of the Cody article. I understand why like it may not have gotten the love it deserved. Depending on whether or not people thought it deserved the love or not. I appreciate that you thought it did. Because yeah, I mean, it wouldn't have been. I mean, just going back to connections, it wouldn't have been
Yeah, writing that
possible.
it's like for it's like the whole semester.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, because yeah, I mean, shout out to I mean, I'm always gonna shout out our um our uh
Shapalicious.
our club advisor, Jake Shapiro, because I mean he's super helpful and yeah, Shapalicious. He's gonna yeah, no, I mean he's just super helpful to the club in general. But I mean, for me individually, knowing what I want to accomplish and what I was doing with the men's team, I mean, he was able to get me along to the Thunder Nuggets game, which was sweet in itself, seeing the experience of a professional journalist. That game was also a hell of a game. Shea you know, hit one of his, signature game winners. I swear that dude doesn't miss in the clutch. I was able to talk with Jalen, which was super neat. Everyone's, freaking out about the handshake that him and Cody had at the draft the other night. So I mean, be able to do that was super cool. And I mean, yeah, that was something that I worked on for a while, looking through literally all the transcripts I had from this year. Trying to find quotes and things like that. So I appreciate you shouting out that. That was super cool. Next point was just yeah, like I don't know. Shout out Joseph Crosby. He was the one that reached out to me for the Pac-12 article with the Daily Bruin. He was a sports editor for the Daily Bruin at UCLA. Put together a great article there, and he graduated this year. But yeah, no, it was cool being a part of that. Because yeah, I mean, I unfortunately wasn't able to give like the best answers because I mean, like I said, I don't know, I'm young. I hadn't really followed Colorado most of my life. But I mean, you know, just talking about like going to like the Pac-12 tournament and seeing the final Pac-12 men's basketball tournament like was just so insane to me, especially having Colorado be in it in the championship. playing as well as they did, even though they didn't win it, even though they could have. Like, I couldn't tell you how unbelievably hurt I was that, you know, we beat Oregon twice and the nail biter, especially like in Eugene a few weeks prior to, you know, to get to, help fuel this winning streak just to lose in the championship. I can't tell you how much that hurt, but to still just like but to be in that moment and think about the fact that I was writing about like that game in particular. I was standing there. I was able to witness, a the final Pac-12 championship. I was able to witness these guys. Some of them, like, I don't know. I don't think anybody's sitting out here, oh yeah, I'm dreaming of like, win the Pac-12 championship. But that's something that like a lot of, I mean, that's the grand goal. Um, for a lot of teams. So to see guys, living out like some of the best moments of their life on that court. And then at the very end, after the press conference, after all the writing and everything, when they flash like it was like the one shining moment for March Madness, but for Pac-12. And they flashed that across the Jumbotron, and like you could just hear like the sad, happy tears of Pac-12 employees who had been working there for years, and even people who had just been there, who had only been there for, it could have been their first year working there like I did. I mean, it was a tearful, like, emotional experience, and like to be there and like see how much it meant to people. Like even just like talking with like one of like I had a professor last year that I was talking about talking sports with, and I don't know, Dr. Kathleen Ryan is her name, and I forget all her escapades, but she has connections to like UCLA and USC and Oregon and now Colorado, and so a lot of teams that were in the Pac-12. And so like even hearing her just as a fan, like talking about how much like the Pac-12 meant to her was just like it was just so cool that yeah, that we were able to be in that final moment, uh you know of and a part of this final season in the Pac-12. But you know, looking ahead to the Big 12, yeah, it will be, yeah, men's it'll be rough, but I think it'll be fun. You know, the additions of, I mean, Trevor Baskin is a legit pickup from the D2 level. Um, but like I don't know, like Elijah Malone, like no disrespect to him, but NAI to Division 1 isn't like unheard of. Like that's not something you hear of often. And so like, I hope he does great. That would be a hell of a story. But no matter how that dude plays next year, just the fact that I'm gonna see a former NAIA player playing in the Big 12, the arguably the best basketball conference in college basketball, like that's just, I don't know. That's so insane to me. And so I don't know. We got some good stories on the men's basketball side of things, but I mean, really, just you know, the build up into this next year, no matter how it goes, between all the programs, uh, like sports wise, just building up and building the hype, building their programs, their environment, their atmosphere, their fan bases, and everything. Seeing record breaking sellouts at women's basketball games and football games this last season, like. I don't know. Just all the hype will be insanely cool to deal with, but then all the preparation that we have from this past year, all the experience that we're bringing in next year, like it's like I don't know. It's gonna be the same with scope of sports, but it'll be different for sure. Like, like we coming for sure. So no, yeah, I'm excited. It'll be a fun year for sure. Um, uh, so yeah, I mean, and even just on the club side of things, like I don't know, we had Jared and Alex holding it down for so long on the club hockey side of things and just club sports in general. And now we got a new generation coming to pick that up, and yeah, I don't know, just really excited for the Big 12, as far as the major sports and just everything in general. It's super cool.
No, I guess you mentioned club sports is a nice little segue into what I was going to talk about, and like kind of the things we have left to talk about, because we had some All-Americans, we have some, some honors, some more recent things. People have been honored in different ways despite not all the sports going on. First off, we have a new NBA champion alumni in Derek White of your
Hey, go
C's.
C's.
And then we had some All-Americans for lacrosse, club lacrosse. Jake McIntyre, Brian McCarthy were on the second and third teams, and then Mike Kuligowski and Chandler Naiman, honorable mentions. And then baseball, most recently, just yesterday, announced it was Blake Carey and Nathan Hoffman were All-Americans on the third team. So pretty cool stuff. And I think I'm really looking forward to, I imagine I'll be the full-time play-by-play, at least for baseball. I know you did some freshman year. Maybe you can join me again. I know you
Yeah, no,
mentioned
I'd
you're
love
new
to.
to that.
Dude,
Um,
the
yeah,
baseball games are some of the most fun events that I've covered at CU. I can't lie. Um, I've loved covering I've only covered a few, but those freshman year ones, those are awesome.
I just remember that time where it was Cam Shore hit the home run, or like it looked like he hit a home run, and they called it like a double,
Well,
and then we just had to
they got that big net behind the fence to protect the
right,
pool in the park, and it bounced
and
off of
then
that in the
and then
corner.
I just remember you saying, "Oh, we got it on camera," but no one was there to turn, and like you couldn't see, like you wasn't even
Yeah,
close to where a
couldn't see the
camera was.
foul poles. Yeah,
So
no, dude
I'm
hit
really looking forward to that.
it. But
And then there's lacrosse, there's hockey. I know Nick will probably be a big part of that. Um, Hockey, I'm not sure. It's pretty hard. It's gonna be hard to replace Alex and Jared. And Aiden studying abroad, though, holding it down with the graphics we saw recently for the draft. Um, Xavier Weaver going to the Cardinals in the being one of the undrafted. That's
yeah,
happened.
yeah. Speaking of him,
Um,
I'm wondering, should I be risky and take him in my dynasty draft? We're starting a new one from
ooh,
scratch.
I
Like
would.
I know it'd be a
I
stupid
like
pick.
that.
It'd be a stupid pick because I could probably just get him off of waivers, but I need to represent.
I'd
When he
probably
was,
just get him off of waivers. I don't even know if he's making the team. Like,
well, yeah. I mean, he'll probably he was the one of the top undrafted receivers. So I mean, well, yeah, we'll have to see whether or
yeah,
not he makes
Cardinals don't
the
have the best
the
receivers.
53-man roster come season time. But I mean, as far as undrafted free agents, like at least I mean for the Cardinals, I know Pro Football Focus highlighted Xavier, to be a rookie to watch for with the Cardinals. We'll have to see. I mean, undrafted players, it's always hard for anybody to be successful in the league, no matter whether you're first round, you're the top pick or undrafted. But yeah, I don't know. For Xavier, he should do all right. He should do all right. But anyway,
Ex Larry Fitzgerald. There you go.
but
Um, yeah, I mean, we have an Olympian. Well, I could mention that for the track and field.
yeah, that is
It's
true.
shoot,
Valerie Constian, dude, I feel bad. I can't pronounce names to save my life, but
I had it right
especially
here.
especially with
Yeah,
the
Constantine or Constine maybe.
yeah, but I don't know. Colorado doesn't make it easier with how many international athletes we got. It's an amazing thing.
Yeah,
But
women's
wow,
team's
some
gonna
of
have
these
the
names.
women's team's gonna have the most international players ever this upcoming year. We got a girl from England, Sweden, two from Australia, of course, Frida from Denmark, Nigeria, and Estonia, the girl from Washington State.
Israel as well.
Um, yeah, Israel, right. I was thinking I was probably missing one of them. But yeah, it's
But
gonna be a really fun team just to follow their stories. And same with the men's team. I mean, you have players that have come from unique backgrounds, not just like, oh, highly touted high school kid from wherever. It's like guys that were, um, grew up in different places because of the portal kind of feeding into that kind of thing. And the NAIA kid you mentioned, the Baskin was D2, right?
yeah, yeah, Colorado Mesa. So I mean, being an
Hmm.
in-state kid is also cool as well.
Yeah. And so, I'm really looking forward to the stories that can be written this year, and can be told as well. So while it may not be like besides football, there's not too big of expectations for any one team. I'm looking forward to all the little interesting scenarios and how we kind of can fare in the Big 12. Maybe we can shock some people. Who knows?
Hmm.
I'm thinking the women's team they could be all right. I don't think they'll be a bottom feeder. But I think they'll be all right. Men's team, it's gonna be tough, but you never know. Ben got Dak
Yeah,
season.
Yeah, I mean it will definitely be tough. I mean they're not they're not gonna do
Julian
not
Hammond
they're
turning into Allen Iverson or something. That's the only thing that can save us.
I mean, Julian Hammond, he did ball out at the end of KJ at the end of his sophomore season when KJ had mono and couldn't play in the
Yeah,
Pac-12 tournament.
I remember that.
And Julian stepped up. So I mean, really for him, it'll be the defensive side of the ball. To see, whether or not he makes that next step. But I mean, but yeah, no, going with your point of yeah, just the stories and everything, like yeah, it'll be cool because like Andrzej Yakimovsky, played for his last 4 years at Washington State, started 80 of the 120 games he played in. He's a good 3-and-D guy. Like he's a solid piece. Uh and he'll be a, interesting to watch, but yeah, another international player from Macedonia, so that's another cool story to cover. And then just like on the men's side of things, like um all the recruits coming in, Andrew Crawford, Felix Kosaris from Ontario, another international guy. Sebastian Rankic, I don't know, Rankic, and so it's you know, it's really sweet. Seeing all these new guys that are joining the program. But uh yeah, I kind of forgot what I was gonna say, trying to think of all the names, but I don't know. Just anyway, with the or yeah, okay, I remember now. I got myself back on track. But yeah, no, just thinking of what I was gonna say was just that um with the basketball team, like yeah, the next year it will be rough, as I was saying, but I wrote about like the offseason moves that they did, that they've done so far. Um and how it'll bode for the future. Some things like, obviously, it was KJ Simpson's decision to head to the NBA, and it's the correct decision. It would have been amazing to see him, stay back at Colorado, run it back, potentially, improve his draft stock somehow better than it already was. Um, but the fact that Colorado sent him to the NBA and is allowing Julian to take on the spot, and allowing other backcourt pieces that are younger, um, speaking of like the new recruits like Felix and Andrew, like those guys will be in the mix, to get some good minutes at guard next year as true freshmen. And you got guys like Javon Ruffin, who'll be a cool story, having dealt with injury, trying to find his way back to being the player, he was when he first arrived at Colorado. So like I don't know, just in KJ Simpson going to the NBA, that bodes well for the development of the team and recruiting. Adding his name to the long list to the growing list of Tad Boyle point guards that are of NBA caliber. So I mean, a lot of yeah, the team won't be good, but I mean, just in KJ Simpson going to the draft, that bodes well for the future. And so seeing guys like seeing some of these transfer pickups, we're only going to have um, you know, Baskin for I think he only has a year left as eligibility, maybe two, depending on because he redshirted at Colorado Mesa, his freshman season, if I'm not mistaken. Um, but like, yeah, obviously he's not going to be around long. He's going to contribute to the team, but like I said, they're not going to win that much. However, you know, being able for Colorado to pull another in-state kid, a top D2 player in the transfer portal, RMAC player of the year last year. We saw how good Joel Scott performed at CSU last season. I mean, the what that move does for Colorado as far as trying to get guys from out of the transfer portal from the D2 level is huge. And so I know I'm kind of hijacking a little bit. But basically, my whole point is just that yeah, next year may not be the greatest, but at least for the men's basketball team, a lot of these moves are for the future. And you can see that on the women's side too. There's maybe not missed out on some of the bigger names that we had hoped for. But we got some really interesting projects, some interesting players, a top recruiting class. So I mean, there's always something to look forward to. I feel like at any college, but I mean specifically at Colorado at the moment, I mean, there's just it's fun. It'll be fun for years to come.
Still touching the women's side future. So I do want to talk about the future a little bit more because there was a big story that kind of developed in the past month or so that I don't want to go through this podcast without mentioning. Um, but just some of the newer players for the women's side, Jade Masagayo from Missouri State, Tabitha Betson, I think she could actually start by the end of the year. I'm that high on her potential. Girls like Lova Lagerlid, Erin Powell, um, and then Kennedy Sanders redshirted. She's going to have a big task, most likely being the backup point guard next year. So there's a lot of future to be excited about for the women's basketball team, but for the football team, I wanted to mention the possibility. It feels so weird that we're talking about it at this point in the off season. The only thing really going on besides it in college football is like the video game coming out, or we're ranked weirdly high on defense. I will say 84 is a bit much, but the "we want Juju" is what I was gonna get to. We want Juju movement, I'll say. Um, Mostly social media based, but we saw how the Boulder community came together for his visit, showing a ton of support. I know Leo wrote an article about it and was there kind of covering some of the crowds and things of the sort. The Sink making their own burger after him, I think was kind of cool. I mean, it got an actual like national recognition. I was very surprised that happened, um, but yeah, Julian Lewis currently committed to USC, but definitely on the flip watch, has been for a little while. Visiting us, Auburn, I think maybe another school or two, but the number 2 ranked quarterback of 2025. We were like, oh, Antoine Hill, he left. It's terrible. What are we ever gonna do? That's the pull of Deion Sanders. Like, we already have the number 2 quarterback and the number 9 overall prospect, or number 8, or I forget what exact number, but a 5-star quarterback, like heavily considering us, wearing our towel to the little workouts and whatever. Like, you can tell we have his attention. So
Yeah.
I thought that was just really cool to see how supportive the fans are now of the football teams, any player that can come in and really really help out. The movement for Seton wasn't as anything big, but I thought a big reason Seton chose us over some of the other schools is because the fan base is so rejuvenated and so energized. And while some of them may have come from other places and may have not been real fans until Coach Prime came to town, we've known that. There's plenty of coattail riders. That kind of to our detriment too. That kind of like hyped us up too much in the beginning, and then ended up with us being a very divisive team that I don't think we really should be at certain points. But it's Deion Sanders; he'll do his thing. Anyway, seeing the fans so supportive of Julian Lewis and his commitment process and his time at high school, and just every prospect that kind of flies our way. Chauncey Gooden just recently committed, 4-star O lineman. Fans are singing happy birthday to him at the visit. Like, our team is kind of, it's getting better. It's still not, I wouldn't say in the upper echelon of a recruiting powerhouse or anything. Not by any means. I mean, we have years to go before we get to there. But because of Coach Prime, and I think because of, in part, the fan base has been so enthusiastic about making the team better, not just for right now when Shador and Shiloh and Travis Hunter are going to be around, but for the foreseeable future. I mean, I hope, all I can say is that I hope Deion Sanders is going to stay for the long term. I can't say whether I know or don't. But what I do think is that his impact is going to be felt for decades, I think, in the program in terms of just how people view it. Um, and it makes me even more excited about the ripple effects and just different ways that can affect different sports, even down to, people wanting a baseball team now. I remember seeing, oh, Coach Prime got to help you. I got a baseball team. I'm like, okay, like yeah, I know he played baseball, but just it's been so cool watching. I guess I mentioned it earlier, but Colorado kind of become cool again, and to be have basically a front row seat at all of it has
Yeah.
been just something that I'll never forget.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, because yeah, it's more than just a front row seat. I mean, yeah, because like we keep talking about it, just I mean, all the connections, whether it's with journalists, with players, with coaches, I mean, even just talking with fans and just all the different stories that you're able to find. I mean, it's cool stuff being able to be like in the mix of everything that's going on this year. And I know we probably sound like broken records on these podcasts, but
Yep.
you know, it's something that I'm grateful for every day when I wake up. Um, but uh but yeah, no, I mean, I don't really have too much more to add to what you just said. I mean, I thought you captured it pretty cool. I thought, yeah, definitely seeing the Boulder community, come out and support trying to get Juju to come to Colorado is definitely a cool thing. I think you mentioned it, but seeing him rock a towel at whatever training camp he was at, bodes well. But I don't know, another thing that I'd seen is like Colorado just offered one of his offensive linemen. He's a class of 2026 prospect, um
Fascinating.
he's I don't know. Carleton High School is a top program.
Hey, Davis Swain, or wait, no, didn't one of our other guys go there? I can't remember.
I think so. I forget who, but yeah, I don't know. Either way, the guy I'm talking about is Psyche Held, and he was a Max Preps sophomore All American. Um, I think he was second team. But still, that's think about how many, sophomore offensive tackles there are
Yeah,
in the country, and to be, among some of the best, that's something. So seeing Colorado, really pull out all the tricks they possibly can to try and get Juju, doing it as a program, but also yeah, seeing the fan base step up as you mentioned. You know, we've seen Peggy for quite some time, but just still seeing her role in recruiting and specifically with Juju, but just an overall recruiting in Colorado sports. Yeah, just cool stuff. So yeah, I don't know. I don't really have too much more to add. I thought that was a good recap of the past year and a good segue into next year. If you have anything more to add, I'm always down to talk more Colorado sports, but
I was thinking about adding kind of a cautionary part because I didn't want to sound like a Coach Prime, like, oh, everything is amazing, everything is so great. Because I mean, there was some, I would say, chaotic parts of this off season. With some of the Twitter drama, and I mean, there were a lot of transfers out. We didn't mention Dylan Edwards and like some of the Carmani McLean and stuff like that. That it's been so long since then, I completely kind of forgot. But
yeah,
I do want to end on a good note, and I think there's a lot that you can drum up a good note from in Colorado athletics right now. And I think next year with the Big 12, with kind of a new era, but kind of not, because you have all these teams from soccer to volleyball to, just, the big football teams. And even as small as we're going to start streaming club softball or like things like that. Like the club and CU sports are new. And we just got to keep going to the top of the mountain. And I'm really excited.
yeah, no, definitely. I know this is probably the most biased podcast we've ever had. But
Hey, it's okay. It's summer.
but yeah, no, yeah, we need content for sure. But I think it is, at least for me, as I mentioned earlier with, seeing how cool it was to see like the Celtics reporters, being as happy as they were, seeing their team be successful. I mean, I think it's, like I said, I mean, as I also said earlier, we don't get many viewers, but if there is anybody that, is out here watching this who has happened to, listen to, the almost the entire hour now that we've been yapping about how much we've loved everything and how cool and great everything's about to be. Um I hope like yeah, if anybody did get this far and they do have aspirations, whether to, work at Colorado or just in sports media in general, like I don't know. For me, it's definitely worth it. Like if you love sports, I hope this is like I don't know, and you love people, you love being creative. Like I don't know, sports journalism definitely has a place for definitely has a place for people like that, and I just hope that like I don't know, yeah, even though this has been biased, talking about my personal opinions, your personal opinions, our experiences, those things like that. I think it's on par to as just as important as telling some of the players' stories as well, because I mean I don't know, obviously I'm not the one that's out here bringing in millions and millions of dollars to cities to programs. I'm not the one that's bringing smiles to kids' faces, because of giving them a pair of cleats or something like that, or making some 65-year-old man happy because I helped my team to win. Yeah, we're not doing that, but at the same time, like I don't know, it's I don't know. I feel like we do a lot of hard work. We're continuing putting in the hard work. Skull Bus is putting in the hard work. Trying to develop and get better. And I think also like in some aspect it's a little hard in this day and age to be appreciative of the media just because of how constant it is and how everyone has a platform, which I'm appreciative of. But there's a lot of stuff that gets thrown up in the mix. And so I feel like there's definitely some importance for us telling our story, and our experiences, just for people to hear and whatnot, but also like just to share that we matter too, and we're a part of this. You know, we're not a part of the team. We're not like we're gonna be unbiased. We're gonna be objective as we possibly can. But but journalists and uh and media people do help so much with sports. I mean, people wouldn't be able to watch sports without us. They wouldn't be able to listen to sports without us. They won't be able to listen to the breakdowns, see the news, see the crazy Dion quotes, the you know, whatever it may be. Like we're putting in that work too, and I hope we're inspiring. I hope people enjoy listening to our story, whether or not it's inspiring or whatever it may be. Um, but also just that whether or not anybody else enjoys this or not, that first and foremost that yeah, like I said earlier, we coming. So
Yeah, I could not have said it better myself. I have nothing else to add.
I don't know. As always, I'm Oliver Hayes,
I'm Harrison Simeon.
and you heard it here first. Peace.